Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Nolin Ebel Ame, and my sign language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi. Let's begin with the headlines. Federal government fine-tunes modalities for distribution of 2,000 tractors to farmers. Minister of Education clarifies statement on agreement with ASU. South Africa sets to host first historic G20 summit in Africa. And here is the news. The Nigeria Police Force records another milestone on the international stage as Commissioner of Police Olubode Ojajuni wins election into the Interpol Africa Committee. A statement by the force notes that the election, which held during the 27th African Regional Conference in Cape Town, South Africa, secures Nigeria the 5th seat on the committee with a 2-year tenure. The Interpol Africa Committee advises the African Regional Conference on its mandate, identifies strategic crime priorities, and strengthens cross-border police cooperation. It also drives best practices and develops projects to enhance regional and continental security. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, congratulates CP Ojajuni on the feat, describing it as a reflection of Nigeria's growing influence in global policing. He reaffirms the force's commitment to professionalism and international collaboration in combating transnational crime, terrorism, and other emerging threats. Now, the federal government has affirmed the commitment to unlocking the socio-economic potentials of Nigeria's geo-heritage sites. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this when he received a delegation from UNESCO International Geoscience and Geoparks Programme Nigeria, led by its chairman, Dr. Aminu Abdullahi Isiaku, on a courtesy visit at the presidential villa. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
This meeting is reaffirmation of the Tinubu administration's efforts to explore the economic and developmental benefits of geoheritage sites for the betterment of the nation. Vice President Kashim Shettima commended Nigerian Geological Survey Agency and the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology for their respective roles in preserving Nigeria's geoheritage sites, encouraging the team to expand its geoscience coverage across Nigeria's geopolitical zones, assuring the delegation of sustained support for the committee's activities.
And I want to acknowledge the UNESCO IGGP NNC's alignment with our renewed hope agenda, and also recognize your council's, your committee's objectives in promoting sustainable geoscience development themes under climate change, earth resources, hydrogeology, geohazards, geodynamics, and geoheritage. But we are a young nation, and I will urge you to expand your coverage beyond Borno and Kebbi.
The committee is aligning itself with the President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda in ensuring climate resilience, among other goals, promising to raise public awareness on the benefits of geosciences.
We believe that our coming is the right time for us to come and share our objectives with the presidency and also seek, most importantly, subnational support. So that because all our work is eventually going to be done at the subnationals. So we believe that coming here is the right place for us to take our message.
The establishment of a national committee for Nigeria, 50 years after the establishment of the global body, has firmly placed the country within the International Geoscience Programme framework. From the State House, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
In other news, France, Germany and the United Kingdom have triggered a controversial UN mechanism that could see tough international sanctions reimposed on Iran. The move comes in the wake of a recent war between Israel and Iran. Details with Habibat Aminu.
The three European powers announced they had activated the presumed snapback mechanism at the United Nations, a measure designed under the 2015 nuclear deal to automatically restore sanctions on Iran. If enforced, it would freeze Iranian assets aboard, block arms sales, and restrict missile development, placing further strain on Tehran's already weakened economy. The decision follows repeated strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities during a 12-day conflict with Israel earlier this month. Moscow, however, has outrightly rejected the action. Russia's first deputy permanent representative to the United Nations, Dmitry Polyansky, said the move has no legal bearing, accusing the Europeans of weaponizing diplomacy.
Normal human contact. Another option is kind of diplomacy at the barrel of the gun. But I will say that this move by European countries, in our view, has absolutely no legal bearing, because they were not implementing Resolution 2231 in good faith.
Russia, which takes over the Security Council presidency in October, is pushing for an alternative plan to extend the resolution underpinning the snapback mechanism, a proposal that could set up a major diplomatic showdown with Europe in the coming weeks. The snapback sanctions are designed to be veto-proof, meaning they could go into force regardless of opposition at the Security Council, further complicating efforts at diplomacy with Iran. The snapback sanctions are designed to be veto-proof, meaning they could go into force regardless of opposition at the Security Council, further complicating efforts at diplomacy with Iran. In Abuja, Habiba Aminu, NTA News.
Habiba Aminu also reports that Thailand in fresh political turmoil after the Constitutional Court removed Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra and her entire cabinet. Plus, Australian police is intensifying the manhunt for 56-year-old Daisy Freeman, accused of fatally shooting two officers.
The court ruled that Paetongtarn, daughter of former leader Thaksin Shinawatra, failed to uphold ethical standards in her handling of border dispute with Cambodia. She was suspended last month after a leaked phone call with former Cambodian leader Hun Sen, which sparked a political storm. Judges said her actions showed a conflict of interest and erode public trust, accusing her of prioritizing personal ties over national duty. The ruling leaves no clear candidate to take over the fragile ruling coalition, raising fears of prolonged political crisis. Paetongtarn's removal comes just a year after her predecessor was also forced out by the same court in separate ethics case. The controversy stems from her June phone call with Hun Sen, in which she referred to him as uncle and described a Thai military commander as her opponent. The leak infuriated Thailand's powerful armed forces and promoted her coalition partners to desert her. The fallout not only destabilized Thai politics, but also worsened tensions with Cambodia, leading to deadly border clashes in July that killed more than 40 people and displaced hundreds of thousands. In another news, Australian police continues manhunt for 56-year-old Daisy Freeman. The heavily armed suspect fled into rugged bushland on Tuesday after opening fire on a team of officers who had arrived at his home to execute a search warrant. Police say he remains armed and dangerous. More than 450 officers have been deployed in the massive search operation, with police urging Freeman to surrender. Victoria Police Chief Commissioner Mike Bush appealed directly to the fugitive, saying it really is time to lay down your firearms and give yourself up so we can all bring this to a safe conclusion. In Abuja, Habiba Aminu, NTA News.
Vietnam and Nigeria are expanding cooperation beyond commercial to agriculture, education and industrial development with a specific understanding in renewable energy. Vietnamese ambassador to Nigeria, Bieu Công Hung, spoke at the 80th anniversary of his country organized by the Vietnamese embassy in Abuja. He expressed optimism that the renewed commitment from both nations, the trade relations, which stood at $1.2 billion in 2024, will grow further in the future, especially in rice production and technology transfer.
Bilateral relations in recent years, focusing on trade, investment, energy, and cultural exchanges.
Potentials for cooperation between our two countries is great in many areas. In fact, we have enjoyed a lot of the achievement, development in many fields, but I focus on economic diplomacy. That is our top priority now.
The event was graced by members of the diplomatic corps who used the event to network and discuss business opportunities and cultural exchange between Nigeria and Vietnam. China is calling on global community to safeguard the world and uphold the fundamental norms of international relations as enshrined in the United Nations Charter. The Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Yu Du-yong-hai, stated this in Abuja at a symposium and film screening events to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the Second World War. Chikunonso Abueze reports.
The symposium Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Yu Du-yong-hai, said is not to dwell on the negative impacts of the war, but to remember history, honor the sacrifices made, especially by the fallen heroes, as well as renew China's commitment to peace and to galvanize global support against such aggressions.
China will never forget how hard it was to achieve our today's peace. That is why we remain firmly committed to the path of peaceful development. It falls to us to defend that victory, to safeguard the international system with the United Nations at its core. We have a duty to confront any attempt to distort the truth of World War II.
Giving their perspective on the harrowing experiences of the Second World War, speakers at the symposium, while advocating peaceful coexistence across the global community, emphasized the importance of preserving territorial integrity and sovereignty in pursuing this peace.
The victory in the Chinese battlefield made a very important contribution to the overall victory of World War II, laid the foundation for the establishment of the post-war international order, and inspired the peoples of the world with powerful spiritual strength in their struggle for freedom.
Now, the lessons that the international system, Africa, Asia, and the entire world have been able to learn is that colonial policy of any kind is inhuman and should be rejected by full force.
The fact remains that China was the principal victim, and without China holding the Eastern Front, the war would have ended a lot more. It would have gone on much longer. The important legacy of the war is a united front of all Chinese patriots in confronting this terrific aggression by the Japanese.
Titled Death to Rights, the embassy, in conjunction with its cultural center in Abuja, also organized a film screening event to further drive home the message of this 80th anniversary commemoration that seeks to steer the global order towards a future defined by greater fairness, justice, and equality for all. Chukunonso Abueze, NTA News.
Thank you for being there. Now, with 100 days remaining, South Africa is set for the first historic G20 summit in Africa. South Africa's G20 presidency is approaching its climax with 87 out of 132 G20 meetings across both Sharper and finance tracks already in the books. The remaining ministerial meetings in September will set the tone for the Johannesburg Leaders' Declaration anchored on solidarity, equality and sustainability. This agenda-driven framework aims to help set the global economic focus for the summit. Key issues on the table include global inequality and sovereign debt burdens. To address this, President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched a G20 task force chaired by Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz to examine wealth disparities and propose actionable remedies. Major question marking the countdown is whether U.S. President Donald Trump will attend. He has expressed strong disapproval of South African policy, particularly land reforms, and signaled he might send a representative instead. The improved funding mechanism for the Nigerian Technical Aid Corps by the federal government has radically enhanced the agency's ability to carry out its mandate. Director General NTA, Dr. Yusuf Buba Yakub, spoke in Abuja at the deployment orientation for 20 new volunteers heading to the Gambia. Kelvin Eunwaye reports.
The implementation of the core mandate of the Nigerian Technical Aid Corps has heightened with the regular deployment of volunteers and evaluation visits to recipient countries. Dr. Buba attributed the renewed vigor to the support of President Bola Tinubu, whom he said has placed priority on the potential of soft power diplomacy, for which NTAC is an effective tool. He challenged the new set of volunteers to the Gambia to be diligent and be torchbearers of Nigeria's good image.
Nigeria Technical Aid Corps have developed confidence of other countries in Nigerians because Nigerians have served very well, and countries all over the world are comfortable with our citizens. Jamaica has opened the way by asking for about 400 experts that they will pay for. And we have started the process. The Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Labor, and other ministries have supported that program, and the Ministry of Justice have given us the go-ahead to process the agreement.
Gambia is one of the highest beneficiaries of Nigerian experts who have carved a niche for themselves in the education and technology sectors of that country for many years. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
In talking education, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, wishes to clarify his statement made during an interaction with the press on August 28, 2025, regarding agreements between the Federal Government of Nigeria, FGN, and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. A ministry statement says, for the avoidance of doubt, the FGN-ASU agreement was last signed in 2009. That agreement remains the most recent signed and binding agreement between the federal government and ASU. It adds that when the minister stated that there had been no new signed agreement with ASU, he was referring specifically to the 2021 draft NIMI BRICS document, which has not been formally executed. The federal government remains committed to ending the 16-year stalemate with ASU in a sustainable and constitutional-backed manner, ensuring our universities remain open for teaching and research. Aside the Digital First initiative and the quest to enhance content, harassment, intimidation, and general welfare of media workers, especially those of NTA staff, are concerns the new Director General, Rotimi Pedro, will have to contend with. Not only were these concerns raised when the chairman of NUJ and Ratau NTA chapter met with the new management, the assurances to address every issue raised and strengthen industrial relationship were also heartwarming. Charles Alpha reports.
Come rain or shine, These media workers remain steadfast in their mission. From camera operators and editors to anchors and field reporters, they work tirelessly, often through the nights, to keep the nation informed while others sleep. Despite their critical role, many media professionals continue to face poor welfare conditions, limited protection, and operational challenges that hinder their ability to perform effectively. It is within this context that the concerns of media unions such as the Nigerian Union of Journalists and RATAW have grown increasingly urgent. Their engagement with NTA's new management here is a push for reforms that prioritize the well-being, safety, and professional dignity of those who serve the public through journalism. While the two union leaders, NTA headquarters, congratulate the Director General NTA and executive directors for their appointment, they are excited about the Digital First initiative and vision of the DG. Yet, it was an opportunity to vent concerns from welfare, incentives, and improved remuneration to harassment and intimidation of NTA staff. The union chairman, NTA headquarters, laid bare the issues. Only recently, former NAWAJ President Ladibala of NTA was harassed and intimidated for carrying out her assigned duties, and this is one of many NTA staff nationwide faced over the years.
DJ, we also will want you to, amongst your plans, to please take staff welfare as a priority, as it were.
Issue of harassment of our staff has become a recurring decimal. We had one in Maiduguri some times ago when our reporter was attacked during court coverage, and then just yesterday, our reporter went to the incident where we had a train derailment, and she got the worst of her life. So we want the management to please address some of these issues.
Again, new on the job, but not so new to the system. The DG, Rotimi Pedro, before this engagement, as he puts it, was already engaging his management on how to improve welfare, develop NTA content house, and other issues raised by the union leaders to restore dignity back to labor and put a bit more focus on staff rather than just equipment.
Quite over the years, I believe NTA has focused too much, particularly on kit, equipment. It's now to turn it around to a content house. A content house meaning that people, not just the equipment, and to get the right people to operate the equipment and to get the best output out of NTA would mean a good union, in a good industrial relationship. And I think there's a strong foundation to build on that. So I believe in that totally, and the management, which I lead now, would reflect that in the whole thing. The welfare is also quite key.
As for support and delivery of the Digital First initiative, members of these unions reassure that they are more than ready to make it happen. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security says it will soon release 2,000 tractors deployed by the federal government. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, says other incentives to boost production will also be provided. Musa Babaliu reports.
On June 23, 2025, President Bola Tinubu inaugurated 2,000 tractors, including large and small harvesters and other implements in Abuja. Since the inauguration, farmers have been awaiting information on the procedure and how the heavy-duty farming equipment will be distributed. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, stated that the tractors are not meant for show.
Mr. President will soon give us the go-ahead to distribute. We'll come up with the financing structure that you will see that will be very, very attractive to the farmers. But one thing that we must make sure, tractors are not for decoration. Tractors are meant to work. And we will have trackers on these tractors to make sure that they are geofenced.
The minister was speaking to a group of farmers who visited the ministry seeking recognition, support, and partnership in the Nigeria Food Security Project.
And for the first time, Mr. President had given us 2,150,000 bags of fertilizer that we had given out across the country free of charge.
Abinci cikin sauki. The chairman of Amana Farmers and Grain Suppliers Association of Nigeria, Haruna Ahmed, stated that the association would continue to support and collaborate with the ministry in all its activities, particularly in implementing laudable sustainable agriculture projects in the country. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
A stakeholders' engagement aimed at strengthening partnerships to expand environmental sensitization, advocacy and pollution control, especially in rural communities, has been held in Abuja. Facilitated by the Living Earth Media in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Environment, it provided a platform for dialogue, knowledge sharing towards building a healthy and livable environment through community-based solutions.
Launch of the Nigeria Circular Economy Roadmap in April 2024. True success lies in how well we empower communities, foster partnerships, and anchor our interventions within strong policy frameworks. Communities remain the first line of defense against environmental degradation.
To engage and train, especially women in their various communities, so that waste that goes to the dump site can be reduced. It can be reduced to the barest minimum. Let's start recycling from our home front. What can be converted to compost, manure, and several things should be done from the home site before it even gets to the landfill. And then we are hoping that some of our partners here can help to train women, especially and youth, so that they can be effective hand in managing and recycling their waste and set up some of the recycling plants that the communities are demanding for.
And that concludes the news on NTA International this evening. Thank you so much for watching. I am Norlene Ebel Ame, and my sign language interpreter has been Shegun Ajayi. Bye.